See, folks, where I'm coming from, and I'm conflicted because I understand the country's divided. You've got Democrats and Republicans, and people who are Democrats are going to support Obama for that reason alone. They don't have to know anything else. On the other hand, there's a part of me that asks, how can anybody with a brain support the guy? How can anybody who understands free enterprise, and these people were in Silicon Valley, I mean, the essence of free enterprise, how can any of them support this unless... Oh, we all know the answer, but it's just still frustrating. Ideology trumps all. Liberalism comes first, and liberalism is basically a way that you can tell yourself you're a good person. And it's also now a way you can tell yourself you're cool. Liberalism is cool. Everything else isn't cool, and cool matters more than anything else. I'm driving home and I'm playing this soundbite over and over in my head, where he says, if you've got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. I guess if you're an Obama supporter, use, he doesn't really mean it. It's no big deal. It's just a campaign. Just whatever. I mean, I know that when we support people and they say and do stupid stuff, we excuse it, either to ourselves or to as many people as we can. And sometimes, though, we're really bothered by it. And it ends up mattering more to us, I think, than it does to them. But see, Obama's not supposed to be talking this way till after he wins his election. This is not the kind of stuff that they've got to be goofing up here, putting this stuff on the prompter for him. And maybe he's off prompter. Here, listen to the bite in its totality again. Somebody who loves America, who loves the founding, who understands it and knows everything about this is a declaration of war against the country. This is a declaration of war from the White House. This is a declaration of war against what this country's always been. And yet so many people look at this, it's just commonplace politics. It's just Rush, it's no different than it was 30 years ago. And you know this, Rush. It's no different than it was 50 years ago. Yeah, Obamacare, what? Just another Social Security entitlement? Just another... Yeah, we'll live with it, Russians. I mean, it's okay. No big deal. I have people on our side telling me that. Ain't that big a deal, Rush? I mean, the Democrats won. This is what they get to do. So I asked myself, what is it going to take? What would it take for a bunch of people on my side of the aisle to see it as the reality I see it? I wonder if it's even possible. Anyway, here's the bite. It's a Friday night in Roanoke, Virginia.
If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own. You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart. There are a lot of smart people out there. It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. There are a whole bunch of hard-working people out there. If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. The internet didn't get invented on its own. Government research created the internet, so then all the companies could make money off the internet.
It was the Department of Defense that created the internet. And of course, that's the one area of the budget he wants to cut. But again, I say his audience, here you have a bunch of people that are going to vote for Obama who are looking for excuses because he's doing his best to divide this country, takers, producers. And he's talking to the takers, and he's giving them every excuse in the world to explain why they haven't, quote unquote, made it, however that's defined. How they haven't made it, and he comes up and these guys, there's nothing special about successful people. This is really what he's saying. Don't feel inferior to these successful people. They're no better than you are. They're no smarter than you are. They're just luckier. They won life's lottery, or they had help from people that you don't know, that you can't get help from. And there's nothing special about them. There's no reason to admire them. There's no reason to want to emulate them. In fact, we're going to go take what they got, and we're going to give it back to you because they wouldn't be where they are if it weren't for you. Now, we've had extremist liberals say this kind of stuff on street corners, on the floor of the House of Representatives. We've never had this kind of divisiveness from the White House. Maybe not even Woodrow Wilson or FDR. But he's sitting there. There's nothing special about successful people. Such a different. When I was growing up, you wanted to be one of those people. You wanted to emulate those people. You wanted to find out what was it. I've told you the story when I was living in a shack, for all intents and purposes, in suburban Kansas City. I'm working for the Kansas City Royals. I'm making $12,000 a year. And I'm one of these people, Obama. I know I'm smart. I'm just not doing what I was meant to do. I'm not doing what I was born to do. I'm not doing what I was cut out to do. I'm trying to find my place in the world. All right. So I'm driving around neighborhoods with big houses, lots of cars. So what do these people do? I'm dying. Just go knock on the front door. What do you do? I did not run around asking, all right, who really made it possible for these people to get where they are? Who really bought them that house? Who really bought them those cars? Who really got them that job? I didn't think that way. I wanted to find out who they were and what they had done. I've never thought that everything came from government. Obama wants you to think that everything comes from government, that without government being involved somewhere, nobody would have amounted to smithereens. How come some people what? Well, I guess you have to assume that if some people never amount to anything, then the government's got something against them. Because the people that never amount to anything are the people that are not as successful as them. Maybe the government didn't help them. So then you have to ask, well, why does the government help certain people and not others? And in Obama's case, you're only going to get help from him if you donate money to him or raise money for him. How is all this explained? Let me ask you this question, folks. Did your parents make the mistake of telling you when you were young that they were proud of you for doing something on your own? My first job was shining shoes in a barbershop. I was fascinated with making shoes shiny. In fact, shinier than anybody could do it on their own. Anybody could do it themselves. I literally had a passion for it. So I got this job, 3 months in the barbershop, and I made like $50. And my dad was so proud of me, went out and bought me a record player so I could continue to pretend to be a DJ in my bedroom. Bought me a little white 45 RPM turntable that played 33s, it played LPs and so forth. But he was ecstatic. He was happy because I had quit everything that I'd started prior to this. My dad did not sit me down and say, you know, son, you didn't do that on your own. You know, son, I don't want you thinking you did that on your own. I'm not proud of you for doing that, son. You're going to have to realize you couldn't have gotten that job in the barbershop if it weren't for me. And you couldn't have gotten a job in the barbershop if it weren't for the guy that hired you. And you wouldn't have kept the job in the barbershop if they didn't like you. You didn't do anything, son. I don't want you thinking you amount to Hilla because you don't deserve any credit. My dad didn't tell me that. Is that what parents are supposed to tell kids today? When your kid does something good, are you now supposed to say, I'm not proud of you. You haven't done anything on your own. You didn't do this. Did your parents ever pat you on the back for building a model airplane or an entire town out of Legos? Did they congratulate you for catching a fish by yourself or cooking your own breakfast? If so, what the hell were they thinking? They missed the chance to lecture you harshly that you do nothing on your own. Nothing. You didn't fix the chain on your bike without help. You didn't dress yourself. You didn't even make a new friend on your own. It took somebody else to introduce you. What do you mean you did it on you? Don't you understand? You're not an individual. You're nothing without a whole bunch of other people. Go read Hillary's book, It Takes a Village Idiot. Or whatever the title of the book. I don't know what.